What's up, guys? I'm just posting this to help out players that are struggling in the new dungeon, understanding some of the mechanics. So this isn't going to be anything that's going to be helping out the more advanced players that are already comping easily. I'll just be sharing some of the things that I've noticed that some groups struggle with versus others. So this is just a little snippet from the second boss here, because I wanted to talk about the crystal mechanic a little bit and this parkour section. I noticed a lot of people are worried about those red circles. They don't seem to do much other than some damage. I haven't seen any of them like knocking players off. It's just people getting through the parkour section successfully. When you get to this point, it's generally best to not go through the portal until everybody catches up, as I have seen people die out. I think a timer starts when the first person goes through the portal. Now, as far as these the crystals go, the best way to handle picking up these crystals would be for everybody to kind of do it at the same time, or at least when you're calling out when artifacts are about to get called out, everybody should be going to cleanse and grab a new crystal at that point. The effect that allows you to attack the boss lasts 20 seconds. Exactly. The crystals respawn every 15 seconds. Now, if you have the crystal effect and you go pick up another crystal, about 5 seconds later or less, depending on when you picked up the second crystal, you're going to get frozen. You have to cleanse before you pick up a new crystal, or you have to let the freeze happen and then you can go pick up a new crystal without cleansing. Healers don't need to pick this crystal up at all, and to be honest with you, the tanks don't even need to pick them up once they have substantial threat. If the DPS are taking death heads, there's really no point for the tank to continue picking it up. You could be lazy and just kind of stand there as long as you got sufficient threat. So that's pretty much it for this fight. And then here we're going to be talking about the final boss here a little bit. So we tried, at first when we were coming in here, we thought it was better to be kind of moving him around, getting him away from the tentacles, and that did seem to make it a little bit easier for avoiding deaths. However, what we found is the most successful way you're going to get through this if you're struggling, and again, this is not going to help anybody that's been going in here, the sweats that have been going in here and completing this with no problem or very little problems. What I found is everybody needs to be single target. The longer you're taking to kill this dragon, the more time you're exposing people to dying to, the paranoid delusions, the tentacles, the demogorgons, whatever it may be. You should be trying to stay on the boss as much as possible. I think small concessions can be made, like on the rogue, put smoke bomb on instead of impact shot. On the wizard, I think you would probably benefit, at least when you're struggling in here, to throw on the direct damage on Smolder with the AoE damage, so that you're kind of doing some splash damage on the paranoid delusions and clearing them out a little bit. The tank should be keeping the boss facing the same direction more or less the whole fight. That's mostly and keeping him in the same spot. I hear people talking about the green pool in the center. I don't really think there is anything going on with that. I think it's just placebo effect, but just keeping the boss in generally the same spot, facing the same direction, is going to help the DPS out so that they don't get hit by those 3 red circles that the boss throws when he kind of throws his head around. Those red circles will turn into poison after about a second or two, and they kill really fast, even the tank. And currently you can't see where that poison's getting left behind, so people are dying. They don't know what's causing it. You can see he just did that right there. So at 70% health, well, 71% health, he's going to phase for the first time. So really you're just trying to push through and get to that phased portion as fast as you can. because the tentacles will stop spawning in at that point. The paranoid delusions will stop spawning in at that point. And I recommend to all the DPS to start saving up your daily at that point, as well as right here, just, you know, you shouldn't be throwing your artifacts once the boss gets down to 75 or 80% health, you know, in preparation for the 70% that's coming. This is again for the groups that are struggling. I can't say the same for the, you know, the sweaty groups that are coming in here with no problems, but what we did was we saved our artifacts for this point. You want to start pushing your stick to like up and to the left right here. See, as you can see, while the screen is blurry, you can start moving towards this first Demogorgon. Now, you guys aren't going to be able to see what happens here, but that's because I go through first as the tank. So I look around, I see where the safe spot is. That safe spot is going to be those multiple waterfalls that are coming down. And your orientation, you're going to get teleported back to that same spot when you get teleported into that phased area and when you get teleported out. So that should help people understand a little bit better which direction they need to be going when they come out of that portal, as you do have very limited time in that phased portion to get to the safe spot, especially the last person. You'll see sometimes people barely making it by the skin of their teeth. Now, you'll see when the last person comes through here, I tell everybody, make sure you get all the way back in the corner. Some of these corners are a little bit shallower than others. Generally, if you're behind the green waterfall, you're safe. Some of those corners are way deeper. Just bear in mind just to stay back and just wait until you see that little glowy effect come off of your character. That tells you that the hit has already happened and you can move out and go back on the boss. We drop right away here, but since filming this, we've kind of started to wait for everybody's artifact to come off cooldown, because the person that fights that 5th Demogorgon, their artifact's not up yet at this point, so we've just been waiting a little bit, waiting for his artifact to come off cooldown so that we have a full artifact call and move the boss's health more. Now, when it comes to these Demogorgons, you'll see they just despawned there. Those Demogorgons will start spawning in after you get the boss past that 70% phase, and they will continue to spawn in. Now, there's none up right now. I'm not really sure what's going on with it, but it seems to me like those Demogorgons spawning in are a punishment for not doing a mechanic, or, you know, failing, you know, doing something that you shouldn't. We've tried several different things. I'm not really sure what yet. Might have something to do with the tentacles, getting hit by the tentacles. Can't really be sure. It does also seem like there's something going on that's causing the paranoid delusions to spawn in. And I do believe that has something to do with players getting hit by tentacles. Because on the runs where there's a bunch of tentacles over by where I'm tanking, I tend to see a lot of my paranoid delusions get spawned in, because I'll get knocked up in the air quite a bit. My buddy over here, the Paladin, he very rarely gets hit by tentacles, I've noticed throughout the runs, and we very rarely see his paranoid delusions. It could be something completely random. I'm just trying to share what I've noticed to try and help people, you know, get through this a little bit easier. The paranoid delusions don't do a whole lot of damage. They will start doing quite a bit of damage if a lot of them spawn in. Not a bad idea to, you know, clear out some of the stuff that's around you on DPS, especially in preparation of an artifact call. If there's an artifact call coming up, I would recommend the DPS to kill any paranoid delusions that are by them, as well as the Demogorgons that have spawned in. These Demogorgons hit really hard, especially, you know, when there's 2 on the tank can still get one-shotted. As you've seen a couple times in here, I got one-shotted by them. We are by no means the best group or the sweatiest group, but we do get through it. We've been getting some decent times now that we've been figuring things out. So he'll go into the next phased portion at it's been different. I don't know. It was 30% on the first day, but I believe on this one, I recorded this yesterday. This is the Thursday after the dungeon was released, and I believe on this one you're going to see the boss phase at around 35% health instead. So, yeah, there you go. So touching a little bit more on that phase where you have to kill the 5 Demogorgons and then go to the safe spot. Sorry you guys don't get to see a lot of that because I'm on my tank, but what's going on in there, the way we're doing it, is the tank's picking up the first one. Now, you are on a very strict time limit. You need to be surgical when you're inside of there. So everybody starts pushing up and to the left on their stick. You go straight over there. Tank jumps on that first one. Everybody dumps on it, kills it. Tank will use his artifact here. I use my Pegasus as well. As soon as I get that effect on me, you see those white crystals. Whoever gets that, they need to run straight for that portal. So I come over here because I know that the back left one is the safe corner. The healer comes out second. He used, his artifact and mount on that Demogorgon. And then at that point, you only have DPS left in there, and that's where it gets a little bit tricky. So I recommend the weakest DPS, or however you guys want to work it, going on the 3rd Demogorgon, and then your stronger DPS should do the 4th and the 5th. Or, if there's melee DPS involved versus ranged DPS, the way you want to do that is when that Demogorgon dies, when it's your turn to get that effect on you, when it's your turn, you need to be right on the Demogorgon, and the very second that he dies, you need a beeline for that portal as fast as you can and get out. There is a cast time, an interact time on that portal. So when you get over to it, stop moving, press A, get out as quick as you can, let your group know that you're out so that they can kill the next Demogorgon. If you kill the next Demogorgon before the last person was out, they're going to be essentially using the next person's portal, and the next person won't have a portal to leave, which will mean that the next person won't have a portal to leave, and then the last person will be stuck inside essentially and kind of forcing a wipe. I don't remember, this might have been the one where we ended up finishing with only 2 DPS alive. So at the 10% mark, you're going to phase again for a final time. The fight's essentially over at that point. The last bit is much easier, and you'll see it in a second here when we get to 10% health. So as a group, you're basically just trying to survive and stay as whole as possible until you get down to that 10%. Once you get the dragon's health bar down to 10%, that's going to be it as far as this portion of the fight. You're never going to come back here. You don't have to finish off the dragon's last 10%. You'll have a ghost dragon and you'll have a brain that need to be killed. You have to kill the dragon, the little ghost dragon first, and then after that you kill the brain. The brain has one of those shields on it, so you have to do the crystal mechanic on it. In that portion of the fight, you have 1 minute from the time you enter that phase before everybody gets sent back to the campfire if you don't complete it. So you're going to see here in a second, we're about to phase him. And yep, here we go. So you want to avoid this first hit if you're DPS. Everybody drops. Now this dragon doesn't have a whole lot of health. He goes down pretty easy. And the brain goes down even easier after that. And again, you have 1 minute from the time this starts. At this point, I don't even pick up a crystal usually because the brain doesn't have a lot of health. The DPS just go and pick up a crystal, and if you have a strong enough group, that 1 crystal is enough. There are those cleansing pools in this room, but there's really no point to picking them up as DPS because you should be able to kill them within the 20 seconds of of that initial crystal. There you have it. That's it. You zone out after that of that portal and you're done. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you have any questions or comments or any ideas on why those Demogorgons or the paranoid delusions are spawning, and I'd love to hear it if you could post down in the comments below. Thank you.